Thank you. Senator Schatz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for your willingness to serve. I have 3 questions, and they're all for Mr. Zerzan. Thank you for being willing to step up, and thanks to your family for the sacrifice. And I'm going to caveat this with, I know you're not in the government, and I know that's an easy way not to answer the question and a perfectly fair way to not answer the question. So I'm actually trying to get to how you would approach this problem. Because you would be within your rights to say, well, I don't know yet, but I want you to try to answer this. The department, and I have a good relationship with the secretary, the department froze around 3,200 grant awards for review. And, you know, I've spoken with him both publicly and privately of the problem of all of them being frozen and then the bandwidth problem of unfreezing them individually. And he was pretty frank about the inability to process this in a timely fashion. I think we're now, out of the 3,200, somewhere between 400 and 500 who have now been approved. But this is the law, and we're now talking about billions of dollars of transportation infrastructure, nonpartisan stuff, bipartisan stuff, kind of, you know, meat and potato stuff. I'm wondering how, in the interest of fidelity to the law that we passed, both the appropriations law and the IIJA, how do we effectuate a process that doesn't end up, you know, taking us 5 years to get money out that's been approved, you know, a couple of years ago now?
Well, thank you very much, Senator. Manpower is, you know, a great way to solve a lot of problems. So ensuring that you have eyeballs on the grants. I will tell you from my own experience, you know, President Trump had ordered a review of all spending in order to ensure that the taxpayer dollars are being used faithfully. At the Department of the Interior, we go through each individual grant and review and see, because the government is very good at putting in clauses for allowing it to do things like pause its spending. And so to the extent there is a justifiable reason for doing so, then we've put a pause on it. If there's not, then the money goes out the door. So I completely sympathize with what you're saying, and I'm familiar with the challenge.
I just want to offer that just operationally, we may have to invert the assumption, right? You may want to review for impropriety or, you know, non-compliance with the law or some other reason to freeze. But I think that as long as the Department of Transportation professionals have worked with a State Department of Transportation to engage, that our assumption should be that that is lawful, subject to review, not that all of it doesn't go until it's individually sort of reapproved. And because if we do that, and again, I'm not trying to, you know, reduce the prerogatives of the department to align better with the new president's priorities and the new secretary's priorities, but you're just not going to get through this list, and you're going to get people on a bipartisan basis, you know, pretty angry. The other challenge is, I don't want to create a situation where it's Tammany Hall, and I got to appeal directly to the secretary to kind of release my funds, right? And then it's a mayor and a swimming pool in your council district, and that's not the way that we do transportation infrastructure. So this is not working right now, and I think the secretary would agree, but we need a new process, because more manpower, you know what's going to happen. It's going to take months to just fund, hire, train, and then we're into next year, and we will be 1/3 of our way through the list. This thing is going too slow. There is an Office of Tribal Transportation and an Office of Tribal Government Affairs, and I want to know how you're going to work with them to train lawyers and program staff on their obligations under the law regarding tribal consultation and transportation issues. The reason I mention this is that we did a bunch of things on a bipartisan basis to include tribes in ways that are novel, but they are now statutory. The problem is that, as you know, from DOI, people kind of know what tribal consultation means. DOT, not as much. And, you know, we had a problem with the Energy Department where this was all new to them. So they had like bonding requirements for like a 300-person tribe, as if that tribe were a municipal government that could go onto Wall Street and get a AAA rating. And so I just want your commitment to kind of work through these issues, given your experience at DOI, and to help your team understand that tribes can't be treated like counties. You have to understand the unique legal obligations and trust obligations between the United States government and tribes.
Yeah, absolutely, Senator. Thank you, and I hope I can help create value in that respect.
Okay, thank you. And then final question, with your indulgence, Mr. Chairman. In the last FAA reauthorization, I passed a law to create a standalone aviation consumer protection office to further empower this function at DOT. It's not fully established because it was subject to appropriations, and we haven't appropriated money for this purpose. So that functions would reside under the GC's shop, and I just want your commitment to just fight for consumers in the aviation context, and for us to be able to work together on a couple of specific things. There were some rulemakings that I think were broadly popular and rational, and I'm hoping we can work together on just protecting aviation consumers.
Thank you, Senator. Absolutely.